very freaky, not good at all. This is so good. This show's a 6 out of 6, and I'm this is Game of Thrones might need to move over. And who'd have thought we'd say that? I kind of thought Game of Thrones was going to own this whole HBO thing for the next decade. And
I'm not ready to say that.
Oh wow. I think the numbers, obviously I've never watched Game of Thrones, but I think the numbers are showing that the population is saying this is what we want.
I think the difference is that Game of Thrones started when streaming wasn't as prevalent.
There. Good point. Fair.
If Game of Thrones started now, I think it would blow any record HBO has. I think the other issue The Last of Us does have is it has a limited amount of content to go off of at the moment. It only has 2 games to go off of at the moment. And I assume we're going to get through the entire first game in this first season. And there's there's not an extra writer. And I think that's kind of right now it's Achilles' heel is that, okay, once you get through episode or season 1 and season 2, well then now you're not working on people's love for the game. Now you have to make your own story, and it has to be just as good as the story that I know from the game.
Wow. Yeah, that's a really good point.
So I think for these first 2 seasons, I think they're going to blow like House of Dragon out of the water. I think it does have that kind of power. I wouldn't say like it'll have the same fanfare as like Game of Thrones could have had if Game of Thrones started.
That's not
Game of Thrones started. Oh no, I know. And you're not a Game of Thrones guy. So
Game of Thrones. I'm just saying this appears to be what HBO Max has always put Game of Thrones as like their main thing. When you think HBO Max, it's Game of Thrones is their top thing that they're putting out there. That's their
thing, yeah.
And then you got Barry and a couple other projects underneath that. I think this is the show they're going to be touting for the next calendar year.
This is the perfect streaming show, yeah.
Yeah, this is the perfect streaming show. It's a video game you can play while you want. You can figure out the ending if you want to figure it out.
Right.
Similar to Game of Thrones. It's like the books. Go buy the source material and you can figure it out. But also we're going to make some shifts on it that are going to cause people to be either really excited or really upset. And that's a huge, great way to get people to talk about your show.
I really hope HBO goes like, hey, we can do this with any video game. If Halo, sorry, I gave it away.
Calm down.
But if HBO gets a hold of Halo, oh man, I'll be so happy.
I just don't see Paramount doing that. I don't see them ever giving that up.
Well, Paramount can kick rocks.
Paramount
Plus is trash. Paramount Plus had a chance. They had a chance.
They had a shot. They had their shot and they blew it.
They had their shot and they blew it.
What game would you want to see them like? Like what game would you want HBO Max to take outside of Halo?
Infamous. If you ever played Infamous, did you ever play that?
Mm-mm.
Infamous.
I'm familiar with the game, but I've never played it.
Oh gosh, Infamous would be one hell of a game to make into a show, and they would have to go top dollar because the CGI would have to be like legit. It would be that Disney issue where like, how much money do we put into CGI because the main character is like a lightning powered protagonist.
Sure. I'm really shocked that they made a Mortal Kombat movie. I think a Mortal Kombat show would do way better on HBO Max.
I think so too, but Infamous or like Borderlands.
Yeah,
would be solid.
Fallout?
Like,
what about Fallout?
Fallout could be an interesting one. Fallout does actually no, never mind. Fallout has an incredible story they could follow depending on where they wanted to start. But again, that's another. Those probably cost a lot more.
Sure.
But so it would have to be like something they can make popular again, and like people will come see and get the right person. So HBO Max is the place to do it because they have shown with like things like House of Dragon and all the other and Game of Thrones that they will put the money in if they know their return is coming and if they know if the product is good. And their products so far. When was the last HBO product? Well, no, that's not a good example. I was going to say, when was the last bad HBO product? It's Velma. That's trash. But that probably didn't cost as much to make.
We're not talking about Velma tonight.
We're not talking about Velma. We know it's trash. We're moving on.
No. I think The Last of Us is really good. I think this is if you're somebody that is listening to us to kind of because we've spoiled a couple things, but we haven't talked about a ton, and I'm okay with that because I think this show is a go see it for yourself show.
Yeah.
I think I love what they're doing with the opening scenes with in this one you have Christine Hakim
That
playing
was
this
incredible.
scientist in
Oh my gosh.
Pakistan or
I
India,
have
excuse
a
me, in
I have
India.
some
Go
I have
ahead.
some info on that if you want it.
Please do. Tell me some info. Go for it.
So that opening scene in Indonesia happened 2 days before the events that happened to Joel.
Wow.
Or that happened, yeah. So it took place on September 24th, 2003, 2 days before the premiere episode events.
Wow. Forgive me, I
So,
said India. In Indonesia, forgive me.
yep. So it was like, so this lady, when she said like bomb everything right now, like it was legit. Like you have to either bomb everything right now, or you have 48 hours and everything's going to crap. That's how like crazy how serious it was. And she goes,
Yeah,
bomb the city, and then
for
she's
her
like,
to
I want to
the
go see my
shaking of the
family.
tea, the
Yeah.
shaking of the tea and putting that down was just like great acting. And I think this show I hope every episode's like that. I hope every episode gives us like a layer back of what happened
Yeah,
before.
absolutely. Because yeah, the first one did too with the talk
Yeah.
show.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's show pre-life, but also show how it happened. I think that's such a missed thing with zombie shows. They're
Oh, for
like
sure.
the whole thing is like the cure, but I love the buildup. The buildup's great too. And you
Yeah.
can walk alongside Joel and his story, which everybody knows and appreciates and respects, and also build the outer narrative. You talked about a season 3 here, Robbie, and I'll just dive in because I think right now our expectations are that they're going to land this plane through 2 episodes. Now there's plenty of time for them to fail here.
Yeah.
Is your expectation if this does go really well after 1 season that they renew for a 3rd season and they spend the whole 2nd season trying to figure out what they're going to do?
I would assume so because like HBO is not the kind to be like, okay, it's over and then we're gonna move on. We with obviously like Game of Thrones. That's the example. Game of Thrones was so good that they were like, hey, let's make House of the Dragon. House of the
Sure.
Dragon is also a limited thing, but House of Dragon's probably like a 4-season thing, is what George R. R. Martin said. And by the time that's done, hopefully the other books of Game of Thrones will be done, and maybe they'll just like retrograde the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones, and they'll give us what we actually should have got.
Right.
Um, but I think they also have time here because maybe they're like, hey, go make us The Last of Us 3. You guys make us that. We'll get season 2 out in 2025,
5, yeah.
and then we'll make season 3. So like if they could do that, I think that's kind of tough. I think there does have to be an end, but it's not. I don't think they want to end at season 2. That's not an HBO thing to do.
There is no way a Last of Us 3 game is not get made. That game for sure is getting made.
And this is us. I don't know how The Last of Us 2 ends.
Yeah.
So that's another issue. It's like I have no idea how that ends. I don't even know how
Well,
The
even
Last
if
of
it
Us
does
1 ends. I
end,
don't
even if
know.
it does end accordingly, let's hypothetically say it does end with like civilization saved. You could definitely do side stories
Oh yeah.
in the 20 years between the events.
Right. You could fill a lot of things in, and again, that would come down to story and execution, and
Mhm.
how do you make these people that care about Joel,
Miller.
and yeah, Joel and Ellie, how do you make them care about other people in this universe? That's a big task, but I
You
think
got 2 seasons to do it. You can do it.
yeah, HBO
I'm
could do
not
it.
saying